Hi, I'm Maria and welcome to Maria's Kitchen Tales. Today I'm going to talk about a book called The Whole Enchilada by Diane Mott Davidson, and it's a mystery book. It's in our collection at the library, and I'm going to show you how to make the recipe, one of the recipes in this book, and it's called Enchiladas Suizas. And so I just want to tell you, I have never read Diane Mott Davidson before, and I really enjoyed this book. She was a lot of fun. She was funny, and the book is about a caterer who caters a birthday party, and then one of her friends ends up dead. And then throughout the book, as she's trying to figure out who killed her friend, she starts realizing that she's actually on the killer's menu. And so she's the one that was intended to be killed. And so I'm not going to tell you what happens or who's the killer or what who ends up else dying in the book, but I definitely want you to try to check it out. Check out some of her books, and there's a lot of authors in the mystery section that have books that are really kind of fun, and they have lots of recipes in them. When you are doing a mystery book, though, I do want to warn you, really check that recipe out. If it has some unusual ingredients, maybe Google those ingredients, find out, are those recipes for murder? Because some of them are. So make sure that you're not using that type of recipe if you want to cook something. Our dish today is not for murder. It's called Enchiladas Suizas, and it's in the book, and at the very back of the book she has it. And I'm not great at making enchiladas. I haven't spent a lot of time making them, but I've eaten quite a few. And in Mexico, my family's from central Mexico, near Mexico City, and for us, Enchiladas Suizas are actually with a sauce that's green, and it's made with the tomatillos, not with tomatoes. But in this recipe, it's actually made with red tomatoes, no tomatillos at all. And so I'm going to do from this recipe. And so she wants you to have corn tortillas, which is one of the best ways to make enchiladas. You don't want your enchiladas to be mushy, and I've made enchiladas before that were mushy. So I'm going to show you a little trick of what my grandmother showed me on how to not make them mushy. So she has 2 cups of shredded chicken, and she used rotisserie chicken. So if you have any leftover rotisserie chicken, you can use that. And she has the sauce is going to be 14 ounces of tomatoes. So I've got some canned tomatoes here. These are crushed tomatoes, and I'm going to put them in the blender. And the reason why I'm going to put the blender, these are crushed, so they're pretty well blended. But the reason why I'm going to put them in the blender is what else you're going to put in the recipe. So she actually wants you to put some canned chilies. And if you have Pueblo chilies, you can throw those in. So I'm going to put about half the can in there. And then she wants you to put some onion and garlic. So I'm going to throw that in there. And I am going to go ahead and blend it all up. And so I've actually made some more from the can because I had to show you what the finished products for the enchiladas were. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my mixture for the sauce and the rest of the sauce that I've been cooking here. And she actually doesn't recommend you cook the sauce, but I wanted to cook it because I wanted to add a little flavor other than what I had already in there. She also recommends that we add some oregano. So I'm going to put some oregano in there. And I'm just putting that in. And I haven't added any salt, and the tomatoes, the canned tomatoes, don't have any salt in there. And the reason why I do that is because I try to be careful of how much salt I take. But thinking of that, I am actually going to put salt in there. So this is Knorr chicken broth, and that has a lot of salt in it. So I'm just putting about a teaspoon in there and mixing it up in the sauce, and that's going to give it a nice little flavor. If you have problems with MSG, I wouldn't use that. I would just use regular salt. But the Mexican chicken broth bouillon gives it a nice flavor to it, and because it has so much salt, you don't need to add any other salt to it. So this is cooking right here, and then over here I have a pan, and it's been heating up, and I am going to show you a trick. So in the book, in the recipe, she basically had you heat up your corn tortillas in the oven and get them just kind of soft. And there are lots of different ways you can make enchiladas. I've seen people just put them in the microwave. If you put them in a microwave with like a damp dishcloth and kind of nuke them in there for a little bit, that is a good way to soften them up as well, and they don't dry out. The way my family would do it is we'd have a hot pan of oil, and this is a little bit more of a traditional Mexican way to do it. You're going to have a hot pan of oil. You've got your tortillas, and these aren't homemade. These are just store-bought, and if you have leftover tortillas too, that's a good way to just use up your leftovers. And you're just going to put them in the oil. And the idea is you're going to heat up your tortilla so that you can roll it into that little enchilada shape, but you're also going to give it that oil kind of barrier to it, because the idea is you don't want your enchilada to get mushy, and sometimes they get mushy. They're still good, but if you have it in oil like that, then it tends to kind of keep its shape better. You're not going to cook it for too long. If you cook it for too long, then you've made a tostada, and that's okay too. You have tostadas. But you can see that it's still pretty pliable, and you want that. And then I'm just going to put it over here on a plate where I have other tortillas that I've already done that to. And you can see they're a little greasy, but they are holding their shape pretty well. And so now, one thing my grandmother would do, she wouldn't actually bake them in the oven, but I'm going to do that with this because that's what the recipe calls for. And so I have my dish here, and I'm going to put the sauce on the bottom of the dish, just like that, and just kind of move it around. And then I'm going to dip my tortilla in the sauce, and it's going to get full of sauce right there. I'm going to put it in the bottom. I've got my chicken here, and I am going to just lay the chicken in there and then roll up my enchilada. And with a big pan, you can just go ahead and keep doing that with each one. And you see the tortilla's not breaking. It's nice and warm. It's filled with the sauce. And then when you finish rolling it all up, you're going to pour a little bit more sauce on top of it. She says to pour about 2 cups in her book. You know, I'd eyeball it, you know, however much sauce you want, because you're only going to be heating it up in a 350 oven for about 20-25 minutes. Everything's cooked. The chicken's cooked, the tortillas are cooked, the sauce is cooked. So it's not like, you know, you're going to risk having anything raw. And then now I'm going to show you what these enchiladas look like. So I'll show you the dish. And this is your enchiladas. So I just roll them all up, line them all up in there, and then I put the rest of the sauce. I didn't want to put too much, but I put quite a bit of sauce in there, and then put some cheese, and then baked it for 25 minutes or so in a 350 oven. And those are your enchiladas. I'm going to pull some out just to show you that they actually did hold up pretty nicely. As you can see, they didn't fall apart. They're not really looking mushy. And that was a little piece of chicken falling there. And they are going to be really good for dinner. So one thing you're going to want to do is, once you have it on your plate, you can put some sour cream on it. And if you have Mexican cream, definitely put some Mexican cream, but I didn't have any today, so I'm putting some sour cream. And then the key in Mexico, what you want to do is you're going to put some raw onions on top. Usually we don't use cheddar cheese. This is the cheddar cheese that she put in her book, and we don't do that. In Mexico you use like a queso fresco or another type of cheese on top, but I like cheddar cheese, so whatever cheese you have in your house is going to work just fine. But putting the raw onion on there kind of gives it a nice flavor, because now you have like the hot enchilada with the sauce and the chicken and the cheese, and then now you've got something crunchy on top of that. So it's really tasty. So I hope you enjoy your enchiladas. Try them out, and I hope you read either the whole enchilada or one of the other books that we have. We have tons of recipe books with mysteries in there, romance books. So if you ever want to read one of those, just ask us at the library and we can help you find one. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great summer. Bye.